How do I know if my website is penalized by Google? We have a big topic today that should be very interesting and is going to be very revealing for some of you, because we're going to dive a little deep into seeing how you can also notice, if you didn't notice, that there is a way that you're looking at content in 2025 as the next point for you as a business owner to also see what's going on under the hood. This is more of a technical SEO room as opposed to just being content SEO, but it's going to be a lot of content that you need to use to make sure that it's also technically available to your market. In other words, you'd have to create content that's going to get you out of that feeling, thinking that, oh, I'm just going to be here for a short time, or I'm going to be here for a long time, and then something happens and then your website gets knocked off the internet and you're like, oh, what happened? I just got hit by a message on an email. And you're like, what was that for? Why am I getting this error message? Because a lot of people get error messages in the beginning and we don't know why we get these error messages and we wonder what's going on. And it's because of the way the structure of your website is. It goes back to the structure of your website. We're talking about, how do I know if my website is penalized by Google? The reason why it's being penalized in the first place is because your business is, first of all, getting attention, which is a good thing. Because if you've never gotten that notification before, that means you were never seen. You know, when you're corrected as a child, when you're corrected, as a person, and you're corrected, is because you did something to be corrected. If you didn't do anything, you wouldn't be corrected, right? So that's why you're on Google. You're on Google and you're being corrected because you probably have a page that you created, that you made, that now has no access or no authority or even no relevance to your website. That's a problem. So when you're looking at that, it's a good thing that you've seen the penalization or you've seen the Google notification in your email, which is a good way for you to also know what to do next. So if you think about your business, if you think about your website, if you think about where you're going long term, right? Your goal as a business should be to figure out how, one, my website can, first of all, look appealing and also have accessible links. Accessible links meaning that all my links within my sitemap file, which is the brain of the website, that means every web link on your website has a web page, and every web page has a destination, right? Just like every room in your house has a destination. So when you have that same representation, you also want to see what's in that place that is making this happen. So let's say, I want to be very practical today. Let's say you have a leak, your house is leaking or your roof is leaking. Now, that's the same thing as being penalized by Google, because something on your website is not supposed to be there because something is triggering it off with a bad signal. So I'll give you an example. If, let's say you wrote an article in 2021 and you wrote an article about social media marketing and trends, right? Now you wrote that article and that article maybe took you about 300 words. Now with AI in 2025, that content at that time may have been important because it's relevant, it was quick, it was easy to read, and it was fast to consume. But now we need more context, we need more depth of information. And if you created content on top of what you created within a short form data form and turn that into long form, meaning that you have other blogs and other podcasts that can match the intent of the search or the title you gave. If I say this is my title, I'm going to express my title through words in form of a poem, in form of a song, in form of a blog, in form of a podcast, in form of an article, in form of a newsletter, in form of an email. So when you're exemplifying or pretty much expanding your content base, you're allowing someone to get more information about that one thing. So if, let's say, you're being penalized by Google because this one page you wrote in 2021 is thin. Why is it thin? It's thin because you have a short or a small amount of words. Because when you look at your articles are measured in form of reading time, in form of words and characters. I'll say that again. Your article is put within a 3-metric system that contains reading time. It also contains, and let me stop on reading time for a little bit. Reading time means that if somebody's going to read your website, they're going to read it through a bunch of text. So that's why the second one is your characters, right? If you think about your words and your characters, you're thinking about how many words am I saying that's fulfilling this number of characters? Because if I have 15,000 characters within a set and I'm able to use that, and I know that the average industry is, let's say, 3,000 words. That's the average industry length for an article. And my article is 10% of that, right? So I have 300 words against a 3,000 word article that I want to rank for within the same spot. It's not going to be easy to outsmart or outrank the other person, right? That's not going to happen because your competitor has already fulfilled a lot of things, including how to find it, defining it, giving strategies, examples, statistics, comparison charts, frequently asked questions. Those are things that you're going to see: images, videos, audio clips, snippets, quotes, listicles, formatting, headings, links, interlinks, external links, internal links. You start seeing different things. All these things are all elements, because all these elements put together is what's going to make your website not penalized by Google. But most people end up being penalized by default because they don't do these things early, or they don't start with them in the beginning. Because you just build a pretty website. Yeah, I have a website, great. But that website has no traffic, no context, and no relevance to the person that you're actually showing up for. Because maybe your content is outdated, or it's not connecting with them because they're not even finding it in the first place. So when you know that your site has been penalized by Google, where you want to go to is go to your Google Search Console. So if you're listening to this is a technical SEO conversation, because technical SEO starts off with under the hood. Just like with your car, if you're going to do an oil change, you're going to go under the hood, right? So if you want to drive a smooth car, or if you want to have a smooth ride, then there's some things you want to do that's going to get you that smooth experience. The same thing happens with your website. You don't want to have a website that is large in size, meaning that if you have 5 products on your website and each product is 5 megabytes, and let's say for each product you have 5 variations, so that's 5 times 5, that's 25. You're already doing 25 on one product. Now, if you have 5 products, 25 times 5 is 125. Now you have 125 images, and imagine if each of those images are 5 megabytes, that's about 625 megabytes of image data that you are wasting. Like, if you just hear that, it's like, just think about this, right? That's 625 megabytes. If you replace megabytes and replace it with dollars, that means you've wasted $625. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that you've wasted, or you spent something that you couldn't track or you couldn't account for. So when you're doing the same thing with your website, that's why you're being penalized. When you get a ticket, is you're being penalized for something you did. So it's literally the same thing. If you drive fast, if you go over the speed limit, you get something in response to say that you've been penalized by state or by Google or by fill in the blank, because you're putting that as a position of what you have done. That's a manual action. So when you're doing that, you're looking at this as a response to asking yourself, okay, I have a website. I'm really serious about getting my website fixed. And I don't know what technical SEO means. All I want is my website to work. All I want is my car to drive. I don't want to think about what's going on in my car. I just want to hit push to start and I'm gone. I want to just hit publish and I'm on. I'm online. That's what the consumer wants. That's what the client wants. That's what the customer wants. That's what you want. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to win. So if I need to know how my site is penalized by Google, I need to have my website connected to Google Search Console. That's the first step, right? That's your first key. That's your first notice. Because once you have that connected to the Search Console, now your Search Console is able to tell you things that you didn't know. Because sometimes we have, questions from clients asking, why do we get this error message? Why are we getting this from Google? It's because Google is actually noticing that you have error messages because they've been there. It's just that they were never diagnosed. They were never revealed to you. They were never put in view. So now that you can see that Google is sending you an email saying that, oh, your website is not being indexed by Google because of this or this, then that tells you that there's something wrong that needs to be fixed. There's always going to be something that's going to be fixed, right? Even us as humans, me included, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We're always going to keep getting better, keep reinventing ourselves, right? We perfect ourselves. We're not perfect. So if you're looking at the same thing as your website, there are things that you will do that you may say, man, that made sense 2 years ago, but today it doesn't make any sense at all because you've gone through a process of maturity. You've gone through a process of experience. So now you know what to do and what not to do. So when you're looking at your Google Search Console and you go to the left side of it, right, you're going to see performance, insights, you're going to see pages. There's a section that I want you to look at today because I know we don't talk about this much. I don't really bring technical SEO into conversations, but because I'm going through these 52 topics, I want to make sure that I'm covering each and every nook and cranny. But if you want to see this visually, please click this link above and join us so that you can be part of the workshops that we have. Click the link in the description so you can also see that right at the top of this description box. So please check it out so that you can also see it for yourself. And that way you can make a decision and ask yourself, if this is what you really want, then we can get that done. Now, when you look at your Search Console on the left side, right, there's overview, insights, URL inspection. That's the first layer. Then under performance, you'll see search results, you'll see discover, right? Now we're looking at indexing. That's the next section. Under indexing, you'll see pages, you see videos, you see sitemaps, and you see removals. Now, when you look at pages, we're going to start from pages. When you look at pages, it's going to tell you there's a section at the top that says all known pages, all submitted pages, and unsubmitted pages only. So there's a way that you can use this filter to know how many pages Google is actually finding on your website, because you may have 10 links on your website. You may have a home page, an about page, a contact page, a product page, a catalog page, a privacy policy page, a terms of policy page, any other page you want to add on to that to make it 10. Gallery page, you can have a sponsor me page, a shop page, a merchandise page. You can have all types of pages, right? Even an affiliate link, you can have a blog page. You can have all those pages there, but within those pages, each of those pages have to stand on their own. Just like, yes, we are here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and other people listening to in the replays as well, and also listening to live anywhere you are, whether you're a podcast addict, thank you for listening. If you're on Apple Podcasts, thank you for listening. If you're on Clubhouse, thank you for listening. Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, I see you, I hear you, and that's why I keep showing up to make sure that you're getting this information. Because when I look at these specific things, these are the things people don't like to talk about. Because if I did this room and I talked about, hey, let's talk about keywords, let's talk about SEO, let's talk about AI, this room is going to be filled up because people want to get those top of funnel quick things. But when it comes to very specific things that people need help with, when you go into a doctor, it's you and the doctor. It's one-on-one. It's not you and a group of workshop attendees. It's serious business, right? Even though they have different degrees, there are different experiences within those different themes. So when you know that your website needs controlled quality and also needs to be understood, you have to also see for yourself, where am I being penalized? And if I am being penalized, how can I do that? I'll give you an example too. I found out something that Wix websites, I don't know why this happens, but I saw it with 2 clients that have Wix websites. And I said, this is crazy. This is the second time I'm saying this. So if you've heard this before, check it out in the last episode. Previously, I said it a while back. There's something called robots tag, right? Or robots txt. Now, what does that mean? It just means that when you have, I'll give you another analogy. When you have like your electric cleaner, right? When you have your electric robot cleaner and you're using that to clean the house or to clean stains or clean water or clean those kind of things around the house, it's going within a certain direction. It's going straight, it's going left, it's going right, it's going back, it's going straight, it's going left. It's literally making a motion within its own setting to make sure that it's covering all the areas that you have prompted it to go through, right? That's a robot cleaner. Now, when you take that same concept and you do it for your website, the robots on your website is telling Google search, crawl this, crawl that, don't crawl this, don't crawl that. So if you put a block on a tag on a page that says blocked or no index, because it's something that can say no index. When you do a no index tag, that means that you are telling the robots to inform the search engines that this particular page should not be showing up on the internet. So that's you specifically giving an executive order, a manual order, and manual action that if this happens, then this happens. And that's what happens when you create those tags. Now, I realized Wix by default has that on. When you look at the section for tags, when you create tags as a blog, those I was so surprised that it's literally blocked. So when you go to the settings on Wix, if you have a Wix website, listen to this. This is for you. And check this out. If you see this, I'm glad you found it. If you don't see this, then you're fine. But chances are you're probably going to see this because I've seen it twice. If you go to your Wix website on the settings, in that settings section, when you go to a place that talks about your settings, all your SEO settings, right? When you go to SEO settings, you're going to see the section under SEO settings. You're going to see where it says like blog, tags, main pages. You'll see product tags. You'll see all those different types of things. When you go to the tags that talk about the blog tags, right? When you see those, or it might say post tag, when you go there and you hit on it, you're going to realize that the no index is turned on. That means that even though you thought that you have an article that says no index from your actual editor page on your blog page, before you publish your before you publish your blog or article or newsletter, it will not show that it's on because it's automatically off, right? By that view. But when you go to the back, you realize, oh, for real, this thing is actually turned on because it's turned on, it resets the whole system. It's kind of like your switch at home. If you turn off the main switch, every power source in the house is off because the main switch, the main supply is off. So literally the robots TXT is like the main supply of your website. If that thing is off, anything on your website is off because the consumption of search engines that are crawling your website daily are bypassing the platforms or the sections that you are manually telling them not to scan. So that's what happens. So if you've seen this on your Wix website, I'm glad that you've seen it and I'm happy that you're about to do something different. When you see that robots TXT tag or when you see that no index tag that's on, turn it off so that you can now have all your tags. Because why I'm telling you this is, and now just to bring you to the front of the house, right? When you create a blog on your website, especially on Wix. This is for Wix, and this is also other websites too, but this is something that's very specific, because if you have a website and you're creating tags, this is going to happen. When you look at a blog page, before you publish a blog, there's usually something called tags. And we forget that tags are actually hashtags. Sometimes we forget that, and we're like, the prefix of a tag is a hash tag, because when you look at a hashtag, it's a munch. It's a keyword munch, right? If I'm going to say social media marketing within a hashtag, I'm not going to have a space. It's going to be munched in between. There's going to be no spaces at all, and it's going to be crunched within a hashtag setup. So if I click that hashtag, it turns into an actual link. Now, when you create a website, when you use a hashtag, that hashtag could also be an anchor, right? If you click on it, it's going to anchor you to the next page. So hashtags can be used in different ways. Now, tags with a blog, in context to what we're talking about with the no index, those tags that you see, I'm just telling you all these things so that when you're thinking about Penalized by Google, you can at least use this to kind of like track back and say, okay, did I do this? Did I not do this? Just for you to see. So when you go to these tags, when you go to your blog, it's going to tell you, of course, what is the title, who's the author, what's the date, what's the excerpt. Now, there's a section that says categories. There's a section that says tags. Categories are different from tags, right? Blog categories or article categories are different from blog or article tags. Why? Because when you have a blog tag is like saying, if I said the word SEO 52 times in this article, then I'm going to use the hashtag, or I'm going to tag the word SEO in this article. So anyone that's looking for SEO topics, I have a tag. It's like a badge on your name. There's a tag, an air tag, whatever you want to call it. There's something that's attached to whatever you're attaching it to, that's going to tell you more information about what you need to know about what you're looking at. So when you look at the tag, because that tag says SEO, and let's say I've been doing 15 blogs about SEO. Now, these 15 blogs that have the tag SEO is going to now have your domain.com/tag/SEO. Now, when somebody clicks on that link, all the tags that you've written about SEO in all those articles are going to show up within that tag. Now, that's what Wix was blocking, because when you're blocking that, it means that the search engines can't see that. And how you know, because the room is, how do I know if my site is being penalized by Google? It's because when you look at your site being penalized by Google and it tells you why, it's because of this reason, this reason, this reason. If one says blocked by robots.txt, that should tell you, okay, that means that somewhere on my website is being blocked, or somewhere on my website is blocking Google or blocking other search engines like Microsoft Bing, if you've connected yourself to those platforms, because you have to first manually index your content and connect your website as a property to these search engines so that you can start to see these results or these achievements or even these milestones too. So when you start doing these things consistently, it's going to help you as a business to get more out and learn more about how you're able to do that for yourself. Because it's not just about creating content, it's about creating consistency. And that consistency is whether it's one person in the room or 10 people in the room. Because I know that when someone's listening to something like this, I know for a fact I'll get an email, I'll get a LinkedIn message, or I'll get a Clubhouse request, or I'll get something out of the blue, or reach, or a referral, and it's going to be reference to something like this. Because I know as you're listening to this, you may not know where to search. You may not even know what to ask ChatGPT. You may not know what to ask Google or Siri, but you know what you're looking for because it came in the form of a title. That's why I'm saying a tag is so important, because when people are searching on podcasts, people are searching with tags. I'm looking for cooking tips. That's a tag. I'm looking for real estate advice. That's a tag. I'm looking for SEO advice. That's a tag. Because what you're getting out of that advice, tips, that's what you're coming for. You're not coming for services. You're not coming for books. You're coming for advice. So those tags are very important because it tells the intent of the user and allows you, the respondent, to now create content that's allowing that person to feel that and actually get satisfied with that response. So that's how you're able to tell right? So that's a tag. A category is different. Category will say food, travel, health, benefits, I'll say giveaways. Those are categories because those are telling you that these are different things that we cater to. It may be email marketing, digital marketing. It could be all these things. Great. And someone may ask, oh, can't a category be the same as a tag? Yes and no. It depends. You always hear that with SEOs, right? Because when you look at a category is by itself. It will say, this is the category, and this category is going to lead you to this result, right? Now, if you look at food and I click on the food category, I'm expecting to see all types of food within your menu or within your setup. So when I look at that, I'm looking at that as structure. Now, when I click on one of those articles that's in the food category and there's a food tag, that food tag might not even say food. It might say something else. It might not say food at all. You know what it could say? It could say watermelons. It could say turmeric. It could say vitamin B12. It could say anything that's going to be within that scope of food or supplements or nutrition is going to come in those forms because those blogs in those categories are using tags that were mentioned in those articles based on context. So when you look at a tag in a category, it's different. So when you now have these blocks by robots and blocks because they're not indexing, you have a huge missed opportunity. Just like we talked about the 652 megabytes or $652, which you could be missing because you're slowing down your website because you have excess baggage that you could have only probably used 10% and gotten more results just because you're able to save 90% of storage. So it really depends on how you as a business want to really ask yourself, how am I going to restructure and realign my business so that I'm not able to miss out on these things? So if you know that your site has been penalized by Google, it's technically because you have something going on your website that's not fully formed. What do I mean? If you have a concept or if you have content that's talking about something and you've not really expanded on that topic, it's like writing an essay and expecting an A when you only wrote 2 sentences in your paragraph, or you wrote 2 sentences within your submitted file. That's not going to get you an A. It's not going to get you even an F because that's not complete. It's incomplete. So I'm giving you these scenarios so that when you also look at it from the ranking system of Google, you can see the same thing too. The more I write, the more I talk, the more I say, the more I do, the more you see, the more you understand, the more you feel, the more you go. And the more you're able to go on these things that I say, you're able to come back to say, okay, I remember hearing this at one point. Now I can do it better because I've now understood the concept of this point. And it takes a while to build up these points over time because sometimes it's the first time you're hearing this and you might be like, oh man, here we go again, another technical SEO problem. But these are the problems that you don't want. So for you to fix a problem, you have to have these hard conversations, right? So that you can get over this hump and then focus on what's mattering to you. It's kind of like working out. You have to work out and get over that hump of it's hard. Just go in. And I've said this before. As a business, you need to have 3 sets. You have to have 3 sets. Every day, you have to rep these 3 sets. However long you want to do the reps, it's up to you. You need to have your mindset, you need to have your skill set, and you need to have your tool set. As a business, you need to understand these things because as a tool set or a skill set, if you don't have that, then you have the mindset to talk to somebody and you're able to address the problem so that person that has that skill set or tool set, you can be able to pay them for their time while you focus on other things that will make you more money. It shouldn't be this hard, but I think we just complicate things sometimes. And sometimes we're our biggest critics because we just want to operate everything, do everything, and control everything. Yet we just need to woosah and just let go, let God, do your part, focus, write it down, actually actualize it. Because when you actually realize it from your mindset, what you have in your mind, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So these are the things that you have to do too. So I'm giving you all these scenarios so that your business can also look at it and ask yourself, okay, do I really need to do this? Is it important? Is it not? If it is, why? If it's not, why not? So when you answer those questions and you're able to fulfill those answers, then it has a better approach on you because you're able to see exactly where this is taking you. So as a business, you have to look at these things and ask yourself, technical SEO can be hard, but you can actually reach out to somebody like me or somebody that you know in the industry that can help you with the same things that you need help with. Because there are many people out there. Go to LinkedIn, go to TikTok, go to YouTube, go to Google, go to the podcast. Come out here. You're listening to this, so I'm sure you're getting some results from what you've already been hearing in the previous episodes. And that's what I love to see because there's progress. If you don't know these things, you never know them at all. And I can't help everybody manually. I'm just one person out of 8.2 billion people in the world. So if I can reach out to more people like this and they can actually do it themselves and you're doing it yourself and you're actually patting yourself on the back, you're giving yourself a high five, you're doing it so well and you're actually doing it for real and you're doing it with intent of actually growing, within 52 weeks, you'll be a whole different person. You'll be a whole different business because you're always sharpening what you have. Iron sharpens iron. But sometimes people don't want to be sharpened. They just want to be lazy and just right away and then just slop it out. Instead of just focusing on writing things down, focusing, rebuilding, remorphing, like eagles. Like if you think about deers, they have to take off their antlers, every now and then in between the season to now regrow them back. So these are things that you have to really ask yourself as a business. How are we growing? How are we doing these things? Welcome, Mary. Glad to have you. It's been a while. Thanks for being here as well. I see you, Al, Ernest, and M. Thanks for being here too. If you have any questions, please reach out and connect as well. Definitely would love to respond back. And the link above will help you to get in contact with me directly. So these are things that we have to look at. I've been running rooms on a daily basis and the podcast has been really taking off. And it's really pushing to the point where I'm like, wow, this is actually happening, whereby I drop an episode, people are listening, people are learning, people are growing, people are actually earning media, they are earning impressions, they are earning insights, they're earning dollars, they're earning value. And it's big. There's some topics I'm not even going to talk about now until it's time, because there's some things I'm cooking behind the scenes to make sure that when I come back here, you're able to get more information that will help you, save you time and money. So all these things I'm talking about today, it's not just something that you can answer and do right now. That's why this is something that you can actually apply to in the future if you start off the right way today. So if you know that your website is being penalized by Google, it's because of those areas that I mentioned. And that has to keep you within that consistency gap and actually keep you within that loop so that you don't miss out too. Now, there's something I also want to mention as well. When you think about the algorithm, right? There's something that I wanted to really bring to your attention too when you think about being penalized by Google, because when you think about being penalized by Google, there's some things that will make you feel like, oh man, why is this happening to me? Is this something that should be happening in the first place? Well, when you look at your business long term, you want to see the right things that are working for you, and the ones that are not working for you, you can also switch them out. This is what I mean. There are two types of penalties that Google gives you. And most of us are on the right side, on the other side, and not the first side. Because the first side is like, that's terrible, but that doesn't happen. So there are two types of penalties, right? The first penalty is a manual penalty, and the second penalty is an algorithmic penalty, right? What does that mean? A manual penalty means that somebody actually went to Google and hit spam on your post. When you go to Google and you look at a post and it says, is this content appropriate? Is this content correct? Most people don't really see that, but you got like 3 little dots for every listing on google.com when you ever search for a word, and you can decide to say, okay, manually act on this post and say, this post is really looking spammy, it looks hidden, it's not genuine. And Google will actually look at it and say, okay, let's check it out. And that happens. That can happen. So that's a manual penalty. That rarely happens to people. But if that ever happens to you, God bless you. And I hope you're able to get it fixed so that you don't have that problem, because that could just mean that you're just doing what we call black hat SEO, in other words, which is just another way of kind of like gaming the system instead of just earning from the system based on fair play. You know, it's kind of like playing a match. You know, when you play a soccer match or football or basketball, you want to have a fair game because you want to have the best man win, the best team win, but you also want to make sure that the team is also not cheating or the team is not, you know, finessing, because that's not going to be a true win. You're not even going to appreciate or even earn or feel like you're a winner because you didn't put your work in. So there's just the discipline by going through these reps I was talking about. So that's a manual penalty. The algorithmic penalty is the second one I was talking about. That one happens to you based on whatever you do on your website. That's why a lot of people get this dings and this mentions and this error messages through email from Google whenever they connect their website to the Google Search Console. It's because Google is automatically demoting and removing your search result from the algorithms because 1, it could be outdated, 2, it could be thin, 3, the quality and relevance could be off limits, meaning that you're not really getting as much information or as well done information. Now with AI too, it could be fully AI, and that's just not looking generic. It actually is generic, but it's not looking like it's reaching the general public that you wanted to attend to or even cater to. So that's going to be a problem. You have unnatural links, you have regurgitated links or content, and that could also make it very scammy and spammy, which will now affect your URL. When that happens, you're going to see that on your performance tab that I talked about. And in that performance tab on Google, it's going to tell you once had traffic, now you don't, because this happened. So that's how you're able to tell. That's how you're able to know. When you use these tools, you want to use these tools better and also really think about it too, right? Another thing you can tell is if you start realizing that your new content takes too long to appear on Google, that's a problem. That's another way to know. If you realize, I wrote this article 2 weeks ago, why is it not showing up on Google? That's a problem. There's a search operator you can use to find that out. Use this. Site, SITE, colon, that's a full colon, not a semicolon, a full colon, site, colon, and then you put your domain. So for me, to be site, colon, playinc.online, PLAYINC.online, and then spacebar, quotation mark, SEO, close quotation mark, hit enter. When you see that, anything on the website, because I prompted the search operator to say site, focus on this. If I do all in title or all in URL, it's going to have a different result. So that's really where it has to change completely. M says, repeat that, please. Okay, so I'll say it again, and I'll also put it in the chat too. So it's site, SITE, and then domain.com, which is your domain, and then open quotation marks, put the keyword in, close quotation marks. I put the link in the chat. Not really the link, but the prompt. So if you use that site, colon, domain.com, just replace domain.com with your website, spacebar, put the keyword that you're focusing on within 1 to 3 words, and then close the quotation marks and hit enter. That's how you're going to know if you're showing up online in the first place or not. If you're not showing up for an article that you wrote, then that's going to lead you back to what I talked about, where your pages are not being indexed, which is a penalized action by Google. And then even this manual action that I talked about earlier is something that's also very important, because A manual penalty is when a human reviewer from even Google's web spam team can manually flag your website for violating the webmaster guidelines and also using links that are spammy or hidden. Because if you're able to use these things and actually try to game the system by saying, oh, click here, click here, click here. Kind of like, for example, if I say SEO 30 times and for every SEO word that I said, I put a link and in that link is taking them to such a place. Google will be like, that's a huge thunder. I just had to be quiet for a little bit. With that type of result, it's going to get you to a point where you'll be able to now decide how much information does Google know about me. That's when you start to really realize whether you even been penalized in the first place. Being penalized, I would say, is not even a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're being penalized for correction's sake. You know, when you're being corrected by your parent or by a mentor or by, you know, someone that is you respect, someone that you look up to, you take that correction with love. You take that correction with hope that you don't have to go through that experience again, because what you're doing is that you're coming out of something that you are coming out from. So if you have a business and your website is now being flagged or being penalized for something, that should tell you that this is an opportunity for you to scale. Just like when you see there's a problem, every business that we have today is solving a problem. Whether it's Apple, Tesla, Amazon, name it, your business, my business, our business, all that is solving a problem. We're solving one problem or the other. We're helping people get better, faster, stronger, and wiser with how they're able to do things consistently. So don't think about being penalized as a bad thing. Think about it as a good thing, but think about it with a positive mindset. It's already negative already as it is. So for you to flip that to a positive is by focusing on how can I flip this by being more intentional with my creativity, with my intellectuality. How am I able to use this word and turn this word into an actual keyword, which can actually turn into a key phrase, which now turns into a key moment for my business, right? We're dealing with different moments in life that have different experiences and different takes on different things. So if I have a business and I want to make sure that we can create content, we want to do this for the right reasons. Hey, Gary, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you for saying that in the chat. Adam, welcome as well. And Med, thanks for being here too. If you have any questions about Google penalized your website or something happened, please let me know. But this is definitely a conversation I feel like was much needed because technical SEO is not talked about a lot. I even did a search on the podcast, Apple Podcast, for example, and I searched for technical SEO and I didn't see a lot of results. I was actually surprised. And I was like, wow, SEOs, what's going on? We can't talk about technical SEO again like this, because the last time I heard about technical SEO, you might see it, but it may not be recent because things are changing consistently. We're in August. Actually, yeah, we just began August. And before you know, it's going to be August 31st. Before you know, it's going to be December 31st. Before you know, it's going to be next summer. So you're looking at this as a business and ask yourself, okay, I'm in this industry. This is my next code. This is my industry. This is my total addressable market. This is my search addressable market. This is my total addressable search market. Out of this search market, who are my direct competitors? Who are my indirect competitors? Are these people that, or businesses that I can connect with? Can I build relationships with them? Or am I just going to compete all day or collaborate so that you can save more energy? Because when you're able to give information like this in a way that is allowing them to find you, that's a relationship that you're building. I'll give you an example. If you wrote an article and you're being penalized by Google because your article is too thin, and let's say you were talking about AI, like what is AI? Let's just talk about that since everyone talks about AI now. What is AI? Let's say you wrote an article and your article was 300 words saying AI is in artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? It is. You're answering all those questions, right? When you answer those questions, it gives you a different response. Welcome to Better American. Thanks for being here. When you have these different examples, giving you the love back too, appreciate you. When you create all these angles and you create all these dimensions within your website, you're creating angles that people can find from these signals. And when you start looking at your website as a point of signal or a point of reference, then you start to become a point of action or a person of influence or a key person of influence, because now the person of influence is being influenced by the link that you provided within the search web or within the search algorithm or within the search listing, however you want to coin it. So if you're looking at your website being penalized, look at your website and say, okay, I wrote an article about AI, and this AI article is explaining what AI is, but I'm being penalized because you may not have enough information. What will I do? If I was to do this again, I would go to YouTube and I'll use the filters on YouTube, right? Shout out to Dr. Fashion for this one. I would go to YouTube and I would search on YouTube AI conversations. I would do AI conversations, or I would search what is AI. Since I really want to be the person that's going to rank for that key term, what is AI? Then I'll type that. Now, when I do that, what I'm creating is a responsibility measurement metric that allows me to now come back and say, okay, how many impressions did I get for this key term? What happened here? What happened here? But the moment you start realizing that the content you start putting on the internet is a direct reflection of who people perceive you to be, then you start taking very responsible, meticulous moves that will allow you to actually portray yourself in the manner that people should perceive you as when people connect with you online. Because what they see you online as is what they should see you offline as. You shouldn't be a catfish, right? Because that's a problem. So you have to think both professionally and personally. When you create content and you're creating content that Google is able to see, then I say, okay, I'll go to YouTube, go to my filters, look at all the AI conversations, then go back to my article and tag all of those videos. Let me say top 5. I'll say, here are your top 5 AI YouTube creators talking about how AI is taking over the workplace in 2025. I've written an article about 5 different YouTube videos within my website. Now that has added it from being thin to thick, right? The reason why it was thin is because it was like a string. It was about, 34 kilobytes? Now you've moved it over from 34 kilobytes to 304 kilobytes. You just added a 0 in between, or you put a 0 after, and now you have way more. If you add another 0, that's 3004, right? Because now you've added 2 zeros in between the 3 and the 4, and now there's a kilobytes attached to it. And now instead of just having a little bit of 34 kilobytes, now you have more you can chew. There's more meat and potatoes. There's more meat that you can feel the thickness of the page. If you were to feel the thickness of a thigh, it's the same way you feel the thickness of a page. So when you think about a page, if your finger, if your hand, if your arm can go around it, if your hand can go around it, it tells you how thick it could be. Now, when you use that same analogy to your website, your web page, and you realize, oh, if I was to print this image, if I was to print this text, how much ink or black ink am I going to use to print out this web page off this internet web server? If I have 7 pages that I'm going to print, compared to that 1.5 page or even less than half page I was going to print before, it's because you have more depth. So when you do that and now you resubmit that website, that same link that you had bad rankings on, you send it back to Google and say, hey, Google, here's my update. I know I wrote this article in 2021, but here's the 2025 version. And now you've written 10 times more than you wrote before. Google's going to trust you more than the person that wrote this article for the first time because you've been around and actually the trust has been established. When you have trust online, it becomes earned media. It becomes earned value. It becomes earned impressions because now you're not forcing it. It's just what you do. It's just you. You're just doing it out of your natural instinct because that's actually how you're able to present data. because you're giving people what they came for and you keep giving them what they ask for. If you keep giving someone the same thing every time that they ask for, eventually they'll trust you because they're like, yeah, this person's not going to do me dirty. This person's not going to do me wrong. This person's not going to finesse me because I know this person cares about what I feel. So it's no longer just AI, ChatGPT, and blogs and all this stuff. It's emotion, it's psychology, it's marketing, it's people, it's value. So when you start creating the value, welcome to Notary Giant. When you start thinking about the value here, you start asking yourself, okay, how can I start putting myself in a position that can add more value? So let me say this way, to avoid being penalized by Google, just write thick content. All other Notary Giant, I see you too. Appreciate you for the chat. The best way to not get penalized by Google is to write thick content. How do you write thick content? You write thick content by creating question-based topics, just like the one I'm doing here. It's question-based topics. When you have a question-based topic, you're adding more value to the algorithm because you're part of the answers that the algorithm is giving as a response. If there are 3 mentions for one question, and then you're the 4th one, and then there's a 5th one, now there are 2 new mentions that have never been there that can be considered over the other 3 that were there. Now, if let's say this last 2 are better than the first 3, then it means that I'm going to flip from being number 5 to number 1 because now I have more context more than number 2, 3, and 4. Even 5. Because now what I'm doing is I'm creating more context for the algorithm to know that my website has a web page consisting of a web link that has context about this topic people are frequently asking in real-time basis on a search operating box like google.com. It's that simple. So if I know that my industry has an average of 1,500 words, then I need to make sure that my content is also matching that type of depth. I don't have to write 1,501 words. I just have to write enough that will make it concise, precise, and helpful that will allow someone to come in and come out as they please, but also feel connected to the person they're connecting with. And it's not just bypassing. You're actually re-evaluating or re-emphasizing or using it as a source of citation impact to allow you to have a more informed decision about something you want to create. So these are the things to think about as a business. How do I know my website? How do I even know if it's even being penalized in the first place? It's by going to these places, going to Google Search Console, going to your Bing Webmasters, checking to see if these tools are actually being added, right? So if you're adding these tools and you're connecting them on a daily basis, then eventually people will start to realize, okay, you keep showing up for the same result. There must be something you're saying that I need to know, because this is what I'm looking for in the first place. And I keep seeing you every time I show up or every time I see you showing up. So that connection now makes you feel like, okay, this person actually has something good to say. Because when you hear someone for the first time and they really resonate with what you're saying, you're like, man, this person gets me. This person actually, man, this is dope. I like this. You actually feel like, oh, wow, where have you been all my life? Because now there's a connection that you've established through trust of information that you got at first sight. So that emotional connection is big because it's really hard to make a second impression, or rather, it's really hard to make a first impression the second time. So when you have every opportunity to do something for the first time, it may not be as groovy, as saucy, as spicy, as gravy, as savory as you want it to be, as sexy as you want it to feel. But at the end of the day, your goal, your mission, your core value is going to stand out long-term and give you that responsibility as a business to say, maybe this is something that I need to consider or do more of. Just because I've been doing it in a way that people like, and now I want to do it better so that people actually get more of what they're liking. So it starts off with knowing what they want in the first place and then giving them what they need. That way they can keep coming back. So when you write more content, when you write thicker content by adding images, not heavy images, you can go to compressor.io and compress your images for as much as 10 megabytes. So you can really take that down and use that on your website. add the images, add videos, and don't upload videos, embed videos, because if you upload videos, you're doing it, it's like kind of like doing it worse than image. Now, this is even worse. If you had an image that was 3 megabytes and now you have a video that's 30 megabytes, that's 30 plus 3. That's 33. You don't want to have 33 megabytes worth of data. They could have only spent 10% of that and have 3 megabytes of just the image and an embedded flywall, I can say that, of your website, which allows you to still get context. If you're watching a YouTube video, for example, on a web page, you don't have to be watching the actual video on the web page to know that it's a video that you can watch. The video has already been embedded to you, kind of like your TV. You don't have to go get the remote, or you don't have to get the film reel from the studio to now watch the actual movie, yet your screen can watch or give you the same experience within your own home. So that's the same setting that you're looking at with your website. When people are coming to your website, they're seeing something that you're showing them consistently, right? And what you're showing them consistently is what they're going to keep remembering. So when you create more content for people to remember, in form of images, in form of videos, in form of text, in form of tables, in form of infographics, in form of frequently asked questions, in form of comparison charts, in form of examples, quotes, listicles. These are things that if you just add as elements into your website, into your web page, you'll be so much further ahead than your competitors, because now you're writing with context and you're writing with intent. And most people, when they're reading, they just want to get to the point. Some people don't want to read. Some people don't read. People actually don't read these days. It's more like a skimming effect, because people just ask ChatGPT, ask Siri, ask Alexa, get what they want, and they hear the response and keep it moving. So when you're hearing responses and you're not the respondent of that question, then that's a big question for you to answer, why you're not on that platform, or why you're not on that system, or why you're not in that answering engine that can actually give you that response as the top citation or the top result. So for you to fix that is to create content on your website that can link back. And the best way to do it is tackle it by topic, pillar-based experiences. For example, if I want to talk about, let's say, SEO, which I'm doing now, I'm answering questions about how, what, why. These are questions that people keep asking every time. So I'm like, okay, I know I can answer this question, but sometimes I'm just one person, right? And I can do just what I can do. But if I can amplify what I can do to maximize my time, meaning that I don't have to say this again in another time sequence or another time from now, then that means I've saved my time from doing the same thing I would have done then, because the same question will be asked tomorrow if I didn't answer it today. So me answering it now allows me to save more time tomorrow, so I can answer more questions that you need after tomorrow. So that's where you have to be thinking 10 steps ahead, 100 steps ahead. These big companies we think about, they think in decades, they plan in decades, they actually act out in decades, they execute in decades. Because you know that from a demi-decade to an actual decade, you're creating 5 to 10 years of content, of value, of mission, vision, core value, experimental studies that allow you to really have a deeper connection with your community. You'll never know your community ever. Even your spouse, family, you'll never know them forever. You'll never know them fully, because people change. We change every time. You know, your website changes, your mind changes, your body changes. A lot of things change, right? But when things change, they're changing either for better or for worse. If it's for better, it's because you intentionally created that. Words are powerful. The power of life and death is in the power of the tongue, which is your mouth, which is your tongue. If you speak life, you will receive life. I've been saying it myself. I receive money, I receive abundance, I receive wealth, I receive connections, I receive good people, I receive good things, and good things are happening because I look at problems as opportunities to rise above the problem, not to stick to the problem or stick with the problem. If I have a problem with you, it's me and you against the problem, not me against you. But a lot of people are spending a lot of energy pointing fingers when 3 fingers are pointing back at you at the same time. So really, you have to ask yourself, hey, what are we really doing with our time? If we want to show up for these results as business owners, then we have to do things correctly. We can't be guessing. We can't be tic-tac-toeing. We can't be doing those hopscotch. It's not the time for that. We need to think about businesses and structure it in a way that says, okay, we're in August, I bet. By December, where should we be in 4 months that we could have tracked back to August and said, because we did ABC, that's why we have DEF. So it's really up to you to decide. So if you don't see these things happen, check them out and try it out. But these are the ways to notice if you have a business and you have a website. This is the time for you to really practice these things, because practice makes perfect. And the better you're able to perfect what you practice, the better you get at what you are. Because this is something I'm doing consistently. I don't come up with a script. I don't come here. You've never heard me flip a page. I just come here, turn on the microphone and talk. Because what will come to my mind off the topic is going to help you, because I know someone's going to ask a question off the topic or from the topic. So it's really exciting to see these things happen where I'm able to answer questions consistently and help you answer these things in a way that's not so stressful, because it can be stressful. And that's why there are 52 questions. The next room I'm going to talk about is, and I might do this tomorrow or on Monday, but I'll see. But the next question that I'm going to answer is this. Why does my website have zero traffic? That's the next room topic we're going to have the next time I show up on Clubhouse with a room in the marketing club on the We Don't Play podcast show. If you go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com, you're going to check this out. And it's very interesting to see this, because a lot of businesses are struggling. I've been doing the numbers. I've been crunching the numbers, and it's painful to see that these numbers are actually facts. And I'm like, no, we have to do something about this. This is not funny at all. Like it's actually not a game at this point, because people are not getting results that they're supposed to be getting because they're not able to understand how things work, just because they don't know how things operate. So your website is getting zero traffic because there's some things that are happening that shouldn't be happening. That's why I really want to come here and really talk about this, so that you can really see this for yourself and say, okay, where are we going with this information? What are we really doing with our time? And how are we able to do these things that will save us more time in the future? So yeah, Notary Giant, you say, oh wow, yes, it's a big one. It's a big one. When I was looking at these numbers, I think about small businesses especially, and I wonder, how is this going to play a big role, and what are we going to do when we think about these things and just ask ourselves, how does this work? HubSpot did a study. This was back in 2023. So it's still valid because it's within a 24-month cycle. HubSpot made some data analysis and reported that about 64% of small businesses struggle with SEO and improving search rankings. 64%. That's a lot of businesses that need help, whether it's restaurant, hotel, retail, travel. It could be anything. This is a big problem. And 90% of new businesses don't make it past the first year because of lack of capital, because of lack of research and development, because of lack of resources, just lack everywhere. And this is not good. So how are you expecting to scale your business and turn it from an idea to an IPO within 7 years, an initial public offering within a 7-year timeline, if you're not able to see how this idea can manifest and germinate into something that can actually be truly tangible for your business to see the fruits of, if you're able to put in the work and water it and actually focus on what you're growing. So it starts off with creating these types of things. That's why when I'm using these episodes and I'm letting you know about these things, is when we now come to topics like the ones I'll be talking about the next on why does my website have zero traffic, you come back to this episode and listen to this, because this is where the problem starts. because the reason why you have 0 is because of this. So you'll go back to the problem to fix the problem, to find the solution. You can't skip the problem and then find the solution. It's not possible. You have to face the problem, however hard it is, have those hard conversations, and then face it, and then fix it. But if you don't fix it, you'll never face it, because you never thought about facing it in the first place, because you didn't think it was going to be fitting enough. But if you know that it's something that's going to be a big pain to your bottom line, to your business, and you know that your competitors are making money on the internet and you're not, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. So think about what we're talking about today. How do I know if my website is penalized by Google? It's because of technical SEO. In other words, it's because you need to check under the hood to see if all your links are working and all your links are active and they're all correspondent and also actively to the search engines. Because these search engines and AI search engines that we're talking about today, Google, ChatGPT, Cloud, Perplexity, name them, whether they're from the traditional side or from the artificial intelligence side. Either way it goes, they all have to match back to the source as you being the authority of that information, so that you're the person that can be shown up as a result for that search phrase. So if you know that you're being found as a result, that's a good thing. Add more results to that one result so you can stay relevant for other resources people will be finding around that, so that you don't just stick to one place. It's kind of like saying, oh, I have one hit song and now I don't want to make any more music. That's regressive. That's not going to be good, because someone's not going to remember that hit song 5 summers after. They might remember it because you've been consistent with 5 or 4 new songs or 4 new summer jams, because you had 4 summers that were able to capitalize off the first one. Your best hit, let me say it this way. I don't know if you've heard this before, because I'm in the entertainment business industry too. Your next hit needs to be better than your last hit. Because if your last hit is better than your next hit, then that's a miss. It's not a hit, because you didn't bypass your record. It's kind of like saying, I broke the record for the fastest runner, and then I didn't break it because I went over 2 seconds. That's because it didn't happen. So when you create these scenarios in your mind and you see that, okay, it can happen, it is possible, then we can actually put these into perspective and actually put them back to our websites. Because our websites is where we gain control, where we gain quality, where we gain intelligence, where we get data, where we're able to understand our consumer behavior. If we're sending out an email, we know people like this, they like that, because they want to know about this or that. The more you're able to know what people want, the more you're able to give them what they need eventually. So that's how you're able to see this thing. So I will talk about this topic and I'll really break it down. So if this topic has helped you today, if you've learned something new, please put a 1 in the chat. Let me know. I'd love to see your feedback, because sometimes this information can get really dicey. It can get very confusing, but I also want to make sure it's also understanding and it's clear for you as well. If you also have any question, now is the time to ask. Put it in the chat. Raise your hand, let me know, because after I talk about this, I'm not talking about this again. And I don't even talk about technical SEO this deep, because we do that with clients and we do it on the back end. But I felt like, man, if I'm doing this on the back end and no one's really knowing it on the front end and I'm seeing what's going on, I need to talk about it so that I can go back and learn, because it's like I'm doing a deep dive. So we do this behind the scenes, make sure that everything is done well for clients and they can get those results. But you know how you can say you can talk about it and you can do it? We do it, but we don't talk about it much, because we don't want to say too much either. Because sometimes people are not even listening, or they are listening, but they're not taking action. So we want the action to show for itself. So when we talk about it, we can be about it. That way we can really, have that conversation and make it a 2-way instead of it being a 1-way. The Notary Giant says, give me 3 minutes getting off commuter rail. Okay, no problem. Yeah, I'll be here for 3 minutes. We'll wrap this up in the next 10. If you have any questions, ask now. Ask now. Ask now. Because asking these questions will help you get better. And closed mouths don't get fed. A closed mouth is a closed destiny. So if I didn't have this podcast, you would not be listening to this information. So I would have been closed. I would have kept quiet. I would have said, yeah, y'all didn't need to know this. I'm good. We good. Y'all be fine. But no, I'm like, nah, we have to talk about this thing so that you also get to know about it yourself. So when you hear about it the next time, you're like, oh yeah, I heard this somewhere before. And it sounds familiar. So these are things to look out for as a business owner and ask yourself, are we really doing this for ourselves, or are we doing this for the people that we care about? So doing this is something that will really help you long-term as a business. If you think about where you want to go and where you want to grow, it starts off with today. It starts off with now. So next steps, if you're listening to this and you skipped all the way to this point, if you're looking for next steps on how to actually do this, this should be your next steps. Number one, go to google.com, type the words Google Search Console, hit enter. I'm literally telling you something so slowly so you can get it. When you hit enter, you will see a bunch of results. Look for Google Search Console tools. Click it. When you click it, you're going to see a dashboard, like a car dashboard to your right. To your left, you're going to see a blue button that says Start Now. When you click Start Now, that Start Now is going to give you two things. You're either going to see your dashboard or you're going to see an introduction to a dashboard. In other words, you're going to see a prompt or a code that you have to put into your DNS server, your domain name server within your website hosting, which is where your control panel is, which is also where your domain should be located if you have it within the same house. If you don't, some people have GoDaddy, Good Domains, and SiteGround hosting. So it could be either or, but wherever you know where your domain is, go to your domain, go to your DNS, add record. When you add record, you add this specific record to your DNS. And when you add this record, you go back to the tab that had this specific keyword in form of a link, which is a unique identification code that Google gives you. When you copy and paste it, it's a copy-paste scenario. You copy, you paste it. Once you paste it and it's pasted on your domain server and it's recorded there, now you come back to Google Search Console and then you hit verify. When you hit verify, if you get a green bar, that means your property has been connected. But if it doesn't get connected, you're going to get a red bar and it's going to feel like this. So don't get the red bar, get the green one. But if something happens, it should be a very easy fix. But if anything happens where it turns red, then there must be an underlying problem that needs to be looked at so that it's also not overlooked or assumed. So that's where technically we would come in. So if you need any questions like this, click the link above, click the link in the description so we can get to talk about this and learn more about this as well. The Notary Giant, thanks for being here. Glad to have you. Good evening. Glad you're off the rail. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm on my way through an Italian restaurant here in Hewlett. So listen, I have an AI website that I created. You think I give two stuff in a flip about it because, for, purposes of, hold on. Purposes of, I guess to get certified and websites, in getting funding and they want to see a website. I created an AI website. I don't think I ever, went to it to, see if I have clients and stuff like that. In fact, I'm thinking about maybe getting out of this AI website and just go on to the next one. What do you think?
before I say what I think, did you say on to the next one, like moving away from the AI website and moving to a more traditional setup, or moving to another AI website builder?
Mm-hmm.
The second one,
Yeah, going to a second one.
what happened to the first one?
Uh, I don't know. Some in me is like, okay, I've given them money they had a promotion where you could pay a year up front, and the year is going to end in 3 months. So I'm like, let me just look for another AI website to go to that may have a similar deal or not.
Okay.
If I'm stay with this AI website, um, after 3 months, it will cost me $9 a month.
Okay, I have a question for you, and I think this is going to be very helpful for people listening to that may have the same, concern. How important, let me ask this question better. How sentimental is your online reputation today?
Well, here's the thing about that. Um, I don't really depend on online reputation for me to move the way that I move, so to speak, because ladies and gentlemen, so my name is Oswald. I am the Chief Executive Officer at the Notary Giant Professional Service Corporation of New York, 10005, and yes, I am on Wall Street. So, I worked during the pandemic, and I've created the most greatest CRM ever. So I really don't depend on just people coming up to me and they need a notary. If I come across one, sure. If I don't come across one, sure, because my specialty is apostille and loan signing. That's what I do. So, and if you don't know what a loan signing is, I'm that notary that you have to come to, or I go to you to sign your paperwork for, your buyer, seller, HELOC, refinance, sometimes reverse mortgage. So I'm not in a desperate to, I don't know. I just, it took me 5 years to, just wing it on an AI website. So I never had a dependence on it. I have a lot of my other colleagues where, oh my God, the SEO, and they have to update their website and this and that and all that. I'm like, gosh, I'm not even there yet. I mean, that's just me because I've already built my clientele. So I'm not really, I don't know. I think desperate is harsh. So, if I get some work from other resources, cool, because, there's always the signing service and other websites that I can go to get work on top of my direct client. So, I don't know.
Okay, I have a 3-part question for you.
Okay.
Do you want to lead, serve, or both?
Both.
Okay, we're going somewhere with this. Okay, so if you want to lead and serve, do you want to lead and serve from a micro or from a macro standpoint?
Maybe possibly a macro. Now, also, favor, I've since added virtual assistants to my business, so to speak. So I don't know if that steers your line of questioning to a different direction.
I'm still on the same path. It hasn't steered it, but it's given me more context because the VAs is more of an internal good thing because now you're able to have more powerhouse, or I can say more phantom power, to operate at a faster capacity or faster pace, to deliver at a high velocity. as opposed to before where it might have spent maybe 3 to 5 times the amount of time that you have spent now. So yeah, so if you, I'm looking at this also from the perspective of, like you said, macro, and you also said lead and serve. So before your clients found you, because right now you said you're good with your clients, you're not looking for clients, because some businesses already have all the clients they need for the fiscal year, so they're fine. Some businesses need businesses, some businesses need to hire businesses, some businesses need to merge with businesses, so yours might have a different lead. But now, like you said, with notary and with SEO, if you're going to lead as the person that's going to help people, like you talked about refinancing, people are dealing with HELOC, dealing with different things if they're first time home buyers. These are things that people are asking these search engines that have websites on. So it's the same thing you're doing, but the responses that are coming from these engines are coming from competitors that your clients listen to, then come to you for verification and justification whether you're going to be the source for their solution. So if you're going to lead and serve, then you have to lead by leading by example with the link showing up on your website, which is going back to your website as leading, as opposed to serving. Because if you just said serving, I would have said, okay, that means you just want to serve your community. If it's local, regional, and that's totally fine, because that's a great gain too, because you're leading and helping people within your community. But if you're leading now, it now steps out beyond just having a website. Now you need to have a connection, you need to have impact. And that's why all these things are coming into play. So in 3 months, if you start from scratch again, you've spent another amount of time overspending the money you could have invested that will give you 24 months yield, because you've been able to say something once and people are still listening to you in real time over time. So that's where that time and money value comes to play. That's why I was asking that question.
Alrighty, that's something for me to think about. Yeah, I mean that's where I'm at currently, because my thing is, with so much information on SEO, sometimes what happens is I don't want to hear about it anymore, and I just shut down. I'm like, okay, listen, if someone goes to the website, cool. If not, okay. I think I did the Google console when I first turned on the the AI site. Maybe I need to find out if I could regenerate the site or something like this. I have a couple of changes I could do to it. Who knows?
Is your website, we're going to do a test, if that's okay with you.
It's in my profile.
Okay, so we're going to do something right now. All right, so the notarygiant.com. There's a search operator that I put at the top of this room when we first started, which is site, colon. Now I'm going to put the Notary Giant. I'm typing as I'm speaking to you, and I'm typing this now. So site, colon, the notarygiant.com, spacebar, open quotation mark. I'm going to put the word notary, since that is the key phrase for now, and then I'll close quotation mark and I'll hit enter. Now, let me see. So this is what AI overview is saying. The Notary Giant Professional Service Corporation, found at thenotarygiant.com, presents itself as a trusted notary public solution. They offer efficient and professional notary services drawing on 5 years of experience. Their expertise also extends to identity verification services. You can contact them through their provided contact form to discuss your notary public needs. So when I click on that, it gives me 3 links. It gives me, wow. You wouldn't believe what I just saw. I'm going to take a screenshot of this and I'll send it over to your DM so you can see this. If you see it on Google, you might see the same thing. You should, because this is on the web. So what I saw, or what I'm seeing, looking at, is you have 3 links that lead you to the same homepage. But in each of these 3 links, you have different metadata. In other words, the first one says your notary public solution with 5 years of experience. I offer efficient and professional notary service to alleviate your document signing worries. The second one says, get in touch, reach out through the provided contact form, trust in my expertise and professionalism for all your notary public needs. Let me handle your ... That's what it says. Then the third one is, I'm an expert in identity verification services, provided trusted and efficient notary public assistance for all your important documents with my ... Those are three different responses coming from one page. But at the same time, what I've noticed is that these three links that you have are leading you to, let me see, the first one is leading you to the homepage, the second one is leading you to the contact page, and the third one is leading you to the identity verification page. So the question you ask the Notary Giant is, do I really need this website? Because you're contemplating on whether this website is important or not. What I've just spoken in the last 5 minutes is a presentation or an online reputation rather of your website in form of the web link that was served by your domain. Now, if you take down your website today and I ask this same question to the internet, I'm not going to get that response. I'll either get it from a third party source or it will say no results found. So if I ask you again, when you think about the importance of a website, do you think it's important or do you think it's still something that you may not need?
You know, like I said, Favor, I don't know because I really haven't been paying much attention to it. Whereas, you know, I have other fellow notaries that talk about how they're on there, they're updating. And then, you know, because I bought into a virtual assistant site, what I hope at the time that I bought it, I'm like, I was thinking maybe I should attach the virtual assistant to it so it could do all the work for me. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you want to know?
Should it be private, public?
In private.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay, so I'm going to put my link in the chat. I'll also put it at the top. I've put it in the chat and I'll also change the link at the top for anyone that's listening.
Attach that link to
Sorry?
a message on Clubhouse. Because after I'm done talking to you, I'm at the restaurant where I'm supposed to be at. So
Okay, I just sent you a DM, so you should see it in your Clubhouse message box.
hey Betty, how you doing? How's your weekend? A fellow notary.
Thank you. This was good. Any question? I know you got to go, so I don't want to keep you waiting so that you can also go. But do you have any questions for me? Do you feel clearer? Do you feel like when you came up on stage, you feel better than when you started, when you came? I just want to know that feedback.
Hold on.
Sorry?
That ambulance is loud. I'm just, that's where I'm at. Like, I just don't know.
Okay. All right. We're going to solve this. We're going to solve this next week. When you're available, we'll talk. I've sent you the link in your message box. It's also here available at the top of this room and also in the chat. Feel free to connect, pick a time that you're available. Let's talk. Sort this out. I can show you visually what you can see, because when I can visually show you something I'm explaining, it will be easier for you to have a better informed decision so that you can make that decision for yourself and see whether it's worth the time and also worth the money, worth the energy, worth the resource, just worth the time in itself. So I know it's a lot, and that's why, people like me are here to help. Just like in your case, when people are coming to you for notary services, they don't know what to do, but you know everything that they need to do to get them to where they need to be. So it's the same thing, but it's kind of like on a different turf.
Okay. All right. You enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate you. I love these questions. These are very serious, legit, authentic, genuine questions that people are having. And I've had it myself, Why do I need this? Do I need this? Is this important? Is this not? And we keep asking ourselves these questions. And sometimes we just need to hear the right response and then factor in that response and see whether that response is actually the right thing to factor or even consider, because it needs to be factual. It needs to have a purpose. It has to have some type of profit. It doesn't have to be monetary. It can be a mental profit, because now you've learned something you didn't know. It's like reading a book. It's different. Just like I tell this, I've said this before, this is so unrelated, but it's super related too. If you brush your teeth with your less dominant hand, that also gives you an awakening when you wake up, because I'm left-handed. So if I use my right hand to brush my teeth, then that does something different with the neurons. So it's different. I use a Scandinavian toothbrush now, which is more like 360. So when I look at it from these angles, why I'm giving you all these things is because I'm just saying these things out so that when you start doing your own research, when you start looking out for things, when you start noticing things, you ask yourself, okay, this question that was just said, if I was to reframe this question in a different sentence that answered a different response, could I still get the same response I'm looking for in the context of what I was asking? That's where comparison comes in. That's where competition comes in. That's where context comes in. I always say content is king and context is queen. When you're able to put content and context together, it's just a beautiful connection, because now everything is making sense. Everything is aligning. There's logic, there's emotion, there's purpose, and there's belonging. So when you're able to do these things and add value to the algorithm, it gives you more dominance over time, because you're answering every question. So imagine you answered 10 questions a month, right? In 30 days, 10 out of 30 days, you answered 10 questions that your business was frequently asking, or people that need your business frequently ask, right? So for you, the notary giant, for example, if you're in New York and people are typing notary services New York and you have a specific zip code, there are some pages on your website that should answer questions for the people that live in those locations. So when it's created like that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages that talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different questions that answer one problem, or that focus on one solution. So when you're creating all that and it's saying, oh, click here, let's book a call, or click here, let's connect, click here, or let's do it, let's make this official, sign up today. When you're giving people that incentive and you're putting the ball in their court, now it's for them to decide, do I really want this? Do I really want to do this now? Or am I really ready, or am I not? If I'm ready, okay, let's do it. Let's do it, because if we do it now, I have a timeline, I have a goal, I have a deadline, I have a milestone I need to catch, so time is not on our side, but we can create more time with what we have, because the time we already have can be spent doing other things that will create more experiences or more moments, I can say it like that, that can give us better results and better feelings that we want to have initially. So if we feel some type of way and we don't like the way we're feeling, how do we get out of that feeling? By doing something different. And that's why I talk about these SEO rooms, these technical SEO rooms, because I know if somebody can find the technical problem and fix it for themselves, or find the technical problem and get it fixed by a professional, then it now saves you time to now do better things, because this could be your best year yet. It's very possible. If you feel like this year is not giving what it's supposed to give, it can definitely give what it needs to give if you give it the time it requires to build. It's like watering your plants, focusing on your diet, focusing on your energy, focusing on your breathing. Those are things that are going to help you increase capacity. So when you create more pages on your website, answering questions that people are frequently asking, then the questions that people are getting answers to are questions that you're relating to in the form of results that you're going to compare to their experience. Then their experience is going to match up to your fact. And then that way they're like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, we need that. Okay, maybe we can try this. Because now there's actual connection to the result, because there's an actual possible pathway which has been drawn in the form of a blueprint. So when you do these things as pages, as a website owner, as a business owner, you're creating a website that's going to drive traffic, and this traffic is going to drive people. to your perspective. It's like a red carpet. If you see a red carpet, people are going to walk on it. They're going to stunt. They're going to have a great time. They're going to take pictures. They're going to look good, smell good, feel good, because that's how they want to be. You know, there's that saying, be, do, have, right? It's even scriptural too. So when you become who you're supposed to become, then you can do the things that you can do. That's why you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to do this so I can have this. I mean, think about that. This is literally the circle of life. So when you think about the things you want to do, then you have to become the person first to become that thing you can see yourself doing. So if you see yourself doing things that you can actually imagine, which is possible because you could imagine it, now you want to put that into paper, you got to write that down. So writing that down means that you have to take action on what you write. You may not act on it immediately, but because you wrote it, you've at least done at least 50% of the accomplishment or the completion rate. Because now you've written down, you say, oh yeah, I wrote this down some time back. Now let me act on it because I feel like it's right. I've prayed about it. I've meditated. I've thought about it. I've really thought through this. I've really taken my time. Now I can actually do it because I can actually feel like I can do it because I can become that person. Then that's when you can have those things because you have the energy, you have the resource, you have the capacity to gain that. But if you don't have that, if you don't have the knowledge, how can you give somebody the response they asked? If someone asked me a question I can't answer, that's because I didn't have the capacity to answer that question. But if I do have the capacity to answer that question, I can actually give you more than you asked because I have way more than I was given because I've been able to receive something that I can take back and give you in return. That's going to be a positive for you. So it just depends on how you want to do this. If you have a website, if you have a web page, if you have a web link that is being penalized by Google search, by Bing search, by Chat GPT search, by any search engine, then you have to go back to your website and find out what's really going on. Go to your search console, go to your indexing, go to your pages section, look at all your known pages, all your submitted pages, and all your unsubmitted pages and see why. Because at the bottom of that page on Google Search Console, you will see why each of them are not corresponding. You click on them, it will show you all the pages. That's why, you know how they say more money, more problems? But at the same time, the more wisdom you get, the more you can do things at a higher capacity. And that's why the wiser you get, the less you talk, because you know more and you're able to do more with less because you've been able to do the more over time. That's the thing that happens with websites. So when you have more links on your website, meaning that you have more pages, you're going to have more problems or more backlog because by this time next year, if you wrote 52 articles within a 52-week cycle, now you have 52 articles to edit within a 52-week cycle within the next cycle. So if you're looking at this from a trajectory of growth, scaling, it's a good thing because that means you're adding more pages. The more I talk to you, the more you get to know more about me. The more dates we go on, the more connections we have, the better it gets. Speaking of dates, I actually found something very important. I'm going to be talking about this very soon, but I won't talk about it too much. But I found, if you go to, it's called English Mint. It's an Instagram account, English Mint _ I found something very interesting. They said that the word date, there are hidden full forms that you never knew. I won't go through all of them, but date stands for day and time evolution. I don't know if you knew that. Day and time evolution. That's what date stands for. So if it's a day and a time, when you go on a date, you're going on a specific day and you're going on a specific time. And what is the evaluation? This person. Like, this is simple ABC we're talking about, but we kind of confuse things or overcomplicate it when it's really simple. So when you think about the evaluation of something, it's because you're going through an experience of something else. Why did I say date? Because when you look at last modification date with AI, Google is looking for the last modified date, the last evaluated sentence. Like yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, ChatGPT 5 came out, right? So everyone's now talking about ChatGPT 5. Before you know it, we're going to talk about something else. So we're kind of like scrambling all over the place instead of just realizing we have to just sit in our element and just focus on what's important so we can show up for the things that we need to show up for. And that's where creating these dates come to play, because the more content you create, the more dates you log. Something called a log. with indexing, logging. Just like when you clock into work and you clock out of work, that's the same way you log into your website, you log out of your website. That's the same way you log a post when you publish it, because it has a date and a timestamp, and that happens consistently. So the more consistent you get at posting with new dates, meaning that today, tomorrow, the day after, you're posting content, the next time somebody sees that, because it's new, Google is going to trust you because you've been showing up with the same results. Now, if you get penalized for these things that you're doing, it's because things are happening over time. Google can have a core update. There can be a huge, major development change. Something could break the system. Someone can break the internet. But at the end of the day, if your house is solid, if your house is within a fortitude that has a solid rock beneath it, then there's no way that this wind or this tornado or this hurricane is going to take you off, because you've been able to stand the test of time, because you've shown that every season as a business, year in, year out, you show up for results that are showing up on Google, because you keep showing up for the same answers people are asking. It's the same thing, just a different day. So I hope this helps you, gives you insight, gives you foresight. And we can talk about this tomorrow on, why is my website getting zero traffic? This will be the reason why, but there'll be more reason to why it's happening for you, because you have to look at it from your own industry. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you and gave you more insight.
And that it did.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Jeff, Marcio, Med, Al. Al has been here since we started. Thanks for being here. Betty, thank you so much. The Better American, appreciate you for being here. Glad to connect with you again. And Wendy, thank you for being here too. This has been a room that I've been doing consistently, and I'm giving my time because I know sometime, someday, some person, somebody will look for something like this and find it. So that's why it's like a treasure hunt. And if you found it, I'm happy you're here. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you, Coach Carol, as well, for being here today. Do you like to say anything before we go with the notary, Jan?
Well, I was trying to do a sound thing for you. Oh, here you go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. I'm happy that this is helping you and it's making life easy. Like, I want to make your life easier, comfortable, less complex, and less SEO scary. Literally, so that you can just focus on what's important and enjoy, the fruits of your labor, which is highly deserved because you deserve it. So thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. It's a weekend. Hope you enjoy yourselves wherever you are in the world. And I'm gonna definitely be back. We do SEO Sundays too, so I'm gonna see if I'll do it. If not, then I'll definitely be here for sure. If you're listening to this as well and you probably don't hear me tomorrow, I'm always in the Breakfast with Champions Club at 7. Literally, let me just say it this way: in the next 48 hours, I will be in the Breakfast with Champions room, because at 7 a.m. Actually, let me not even put it that way. It's less than actually 48 hours, because that would be around this time in 2 days. But if you look at it, minus 12, then I'll be there. And if you're there too, if you're waking up early, because I'm an early bird. So if you're available, in the next 36 hours, not 48 hours, because that'll be 7 a.m. Central. I'm in Houston, Texas. So if you are available, come to the room. We usually have that in the Breakfast with Champions Club on Clubhouse. And I usually talk about Pinterest, AI, marketing, podcasts. I could go any way, and usually I let people decide, because I always come with 3 options, and then I let the people choose, and then I talk for 30 minutes and we have a conversation, so we can really get down to the bottom of the question, so we can get the answer out. So I hope you guys find that helpful, find that resourceful, and I hope you all rewind. The replays are on here, by the way, so you can listen to the replays, or you can go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com and listen to all the episodes, whether you use Podcast Addict, whether you use Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Echo, whatever you use, Siri, it's all available to you. And I hope this helps you as well and gains insight and also foresight for your business to grow. Amanda and Mark, the replays are available. Thanks for being here. It's been a while. Good to have you all as well here. Clubhouse is like this app. You keep meeting people, connecting, and you keep growing. So it's always good to see, faces that we've seen as well on the app. So thank you for stepping in and being here, because it's a weekend. You could have been anywhere else in the world at this time, but you chose to be here listening. I appreciate you. It means a lot to me, and I don't take your time for granted, because time is not promised. Only God gives us time, and we need to use it wisely and be stewards of the time that we have. So I really appreciate you all for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay hydrated, stay blessed, and I'm going to see you guys in the next room. Take care. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11 and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those 4, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you.